them is that the shadow shapes that are next to the main leaves have to be smaller in size than the main ones, more gray in color than the main ones, and less detailed than the main ones. Archie, would you turn the music off, please? Now, we're going to take the resist off. We just basically protected the breast, and we're going to strategically place the warm color next to the cool color that we painted last night. I always start with the breast on the bird, always. And I use a warm color, and it says in your study that we're going to start with yellow-brown. So the local color, and that's really all we're doing on the first step, is locating the items and identifying them with color. So the breast is going to be yellow, and the color that I use for my yellow is yellow-brown. And then we're going to overpaint with a mixture of yellow-brown number 2 with yellow-red. So we go from the yellow-brown number 2 to the yellow-red, back to the number 2 again. So we're going to start now. This is oil, my number 4 brush. This isn't detail, so I don't use my number 2 brush in turpentine. This is oil. And we're going to put, I would say, a light wash of yellow-brown on the breast. And when I do this, I comb the color in the direction if I were going to comb him with a hairbrush. So just a light coat of yellow-brown. I'm going to get rid of this brush now because it's too big a brush to do the job that I'm going to ask it to do. And the next color that we're going to use is yellow-brown number 2, yellow-red, back into the number 2, and this is dry brush. I drop my wrist, I start back here, and I walk the color in the direction that I want the darkest dark. So I always walk towards the dark. I'm going to just blush over that to calm the texture down somewhat. This is step 1. Step 2, we'll swish over this with a different color tomorrow. Now the back of the wings are mostly laid in with hair brown added to tan. So it's tan. Oh, that's for the brown birds. Sorry, wrong bird.
That's what it says here.
Yeah, but that's for the brown birds. I'm going to do the back first. We're going to lay the back in with yellow-brown. Just a light coat of yellow-brown in here. And then I'm going to use antique green and overpaint step 1 with step 2, and step 2 is texture. This is antique green. And then I'll just soften that slightly. Okay, now the wings are going to be a mixture of air blue.
You are not putting the antique green also here?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
And peacock. This mixture is on your little cheat sheet that I gave you, the combination list. I'm actually making the color baby blue here. It's air and peacock. Okay, left side, right side, come down the middle. Little flat ball. And peacock. Step 2, I'm going to drop my wrist, start back here, and walk that color towards his beak.
Only peacock.
Only peacock this time. The color that I'm going to use for the tail feathers is royal blue with some black in it. So I'm making navy blue. And I'm not going to go too dark too fast. I will overpaint what I'm doing today on the second fire, and I'll use black straight away tomorrow. But right now, all we're doing is locating. This is my number 2 brush. I'm going to drop my wrist and walk the color towards the darkest dark. So dry brush now. I just took some moisture out of my heel, and I'm going to walk this color towards the light on the breast. Can you see that this is a wedge shape?
Yes.
Drop your wrist, start back here, and walk that color where the darkest dark is. Too much oil. And I'm going to cock my brush over on its side now. After I load it up fully, I'll cock it on its side so that I can make fine lines like this. Then I don't have to try to pencil them in or brush them in. I have all the detail that I need. Just walk the brush by using the side of my brush, like that. Okay. Same thing here now. Drop your wrist, start back here, and walk that color into the dark.
And you put oil or turpentine?
You can use either one.
Oh, okay.
I prefer using turpentine.
Okay.
I think that looks more natural if you try to do it with a pen. I'm going to drop my wrist now, start back here, and overpaint that little bit right there next to his head. So as far as I'm concerned, it's all about the texture, isn't it? Now this navy blue mixture will give us a tooth and a foundation for what we're going to do tomorrow. When I paint Santa and I paint his eye, I always lay it in with blue first. Fire it, overpaint it with black, and then you can see the luminosity of the blue coming through during the firing. If you go too dark too fast, you have a dead black hole then for Santa's eye. So that's how I feel. I think it's better to put blue down underneath the black on that fire. Now you can use your wipeout tool if you get too solid in here, but I never leave my wipeout tool marks ever after it's fired. I believe that you have to have mystery in your painting, and if you give me too much information and I can tell what tool you've used, it's too much information. So
that's what Yvonne said, TMI.
Yeah. And I make a joke of Tammy Faye Baker. I always tell my students, I don't want your painting to look like Tammy Faye Baker. It's overworked. Now this is my number 2 brush.
We don't know who she is.
She has a lot of makeup.
And the jewelry and the nails and the glasses. So the
whole shaboom.
Shebang.
the tail feathers are like a check mark. Do you see? It's a little check mark. And now this is turpentine, Sarah.
Oh, I asked.
You asked.
No problem, you can answer me.
Okay. Do you see? And if this is too much for you to do, maybe your painting is too wet today, I want your detail to stay. So step 2 is oil, step 1 is oil, step 2 is oil, step 3 is turpentine. The turpentine is going to dry right now, and it doesn't swim into the other oil that's already there. Everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a better way. You can wait and do this on another fire if you're afraid of messing it all up. But this is how we're going to do the pheasant today. After we get everything done, we're going to take our detail brush and we're going to exaggerate those tail feathers on the pheasant as well. Do you see? And that's all done with black on another painting. I just think it's too much too soon. The eye is done with hair brown on this particular bird, and I paint it flat. I paint left side, right side, come down the middle, and just paint it as a flat little ball. This eye is a little bit on the oval-ish side, and after I get that painted in, I'll come back and paint the dark side, the back side of the eye, with a little bit of black. So you have 2 colors on everything that you paint. Having 2 colors gives you 2 values. And now I'll meet that eye with a little bit of black detail. Where his chin is, I'm not going to see that against the white of the china. Bless you.
Thank you.
Unless I set that with a little bit of color. You can use gray, you can use green, but we have to have a little bit of color there. Now his beak, I'm going to do in a light gray, and you know how to make gray. It's air and hair, isn't it? And you can MOB, you can mix it on your brush and make a real pretty gray. And when I do the beak, the upper part of the beak is a little bit wider, the bottom of the beak is a little narrower, and I put a little bit of a hook on the tippy top of the beak so that he can catch the mosquito when it goes by. So I'm going to lay it in with gray first, and I'm not going to divide it in half. I'm going to divide it so the upper part of the beak is a little bit wider and the underside a little bit narrower, and I'll just kind of inch that out until I put a little teeny hook on it, like that. Just kind of inch it out. Sure.
Oops, I'm out of focus.
Can't get close enough.
Can we have it
Out
focused
of
because we
focus.
didn't see anything?
Yeah.
It's too tiny.
Okay.
Okay.
Usually, when I paint a bird, and I think you'll see this from observing birds, whatever color their beak is, their feet are usually the same color. So if you paint a cardinal with an orange beak, its feet will be orange. If you do a chickadee, you'll see the chickadee has a gray beak with gray feet. Once in a while, the beak and the feet are different, but most often they're exactly the same color. More often than not, the percentage rate is greater. So I'm going to make a gray now out of air and hair, and I'll paint his foot that color. And in order to hold on to the branch that we're going to put in next, it's no different than you having nails and a thumb. When the branch is there, that little toenail comes down and holds on. Do you see? These roll over, but this little toenail protrudes. It's no different than you holding on. So I like to show the toenail to the bird. Makes it more believable. The sock that is attached to the underside of his body right here. You can paint this sock any color you want. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do mine in kind of a yellow color.
What is the sock? The pulke?
הפולקה, כן.
Okay.
מתאים, שק של פולקה.
כן.
Okay? And you can use either your pen or you can use a real fine brush. It makes no difference. Where this part is, I always make this rounded. Do you see?
Mhm.
So I do that first. I'm going to find that round part right there. Do you see? Here's his toenail coming around the corner. And then birds are from the reptile family. So we want to show that there's like little scales here. And have that toenail wrap around the item that it's hanging on to. My oil's dry from last night, so I'm kind of fussing with it a little bit more than I usually do. But that's how I do the legs. Pass them. Leave the whole thing with tan.
Okay. אותו צבע הכל?
תן, תן עכשיו.
בתן?
כן.
את יכולה לעשות לבד אם אין לך. קחי קצת את החומים הבהירים ותכניסי לצהוב, יהיה לך כמו תן.
Okay, and step 2 is for shading and texture with a combination of yellow brown number 2 and rich brown. And then you go back into the number 2, right?
So it's a combination of yellow brown 2 and rich brown.
Right.
And again to the yellow brown.
Right. It's always more of the first color that I mentioned. That's how I load my brush. I go from one to the other, back into the other. Okay?
And we walk.
Shading and texture, step 2.
זה הביצים האדום שם, זה לא מה זה.
Is that a video? Oh wow.
Yeah, I said I'll send everybody.
Oh, it's a video.
Yeah.
Yes.
I asked Mary for permission, and we all, including Mary, will have a video.
You should do videos, Mary.
No, I've checked into it twice.
Is it too much?
It's $1,500 every time they even set it up.
Oh my gosh.
1,500?
Yes.
Don't tell Haggett that's you.
She will charge
Send us
us.
a bill.
She's giving it for free.
She will charge us.
So,
No, I think you have to check with someone who knows it, but is willing to do it for less. There's all kind of young people expert in doing those stuff, and
That's
they don't
true.
charge you
Yeah.
too much. Because I know a teacher, a decorative one, that all of video is done by a girl, a student, and she charged very little.
okay, then it says detail with a mixture of rich brown and black.
Send her my nephew.
And people who like to buy your DVD because you teach, and you are very like
Precise, step by step.
yeah, you are you are very clear also your language and everything. Because Sandor, for instance, doesn't do video because nobody will understand what he's talking. It's difficult. No,
Yeah.
he's got problem with the English.
Now it says using a fine wipeout tool, indicate the highlights. Okay?
When I worked in an office, I went to this job, and this girl said she was taught this particular process of the job that I was doing. She had to go to like a course, and everybody in the course, they said to them, write down how you would make a jam sandwich.
Can you smooth it?
Now she's softening them.
Yes, I don't leave wipeout tool marks ever on anything. Ever. Soften everything. I don't want anybody to know what tool I've used.
So in this jam sandwich, they had to write down from the beginning to the end. I went to the store, and then they got home. They took out the bread, buttered the bread, put the jam on the bread, everything. And it always sticks in my head whenever Mary's teaching, because
She's
that's
step by
exactly
step.
the thing.
Yes.
When I first took from Mary, I thought, oh, this is the jam sandwich method, because it's like step by step, right
Yes.
from the very beginning.
Once my students paint with me, they say, I buy a study, I know exactly
Yeah, what you mean.
What you mean. Just by studying with me once. So here's that hiccup, see? Kick it out, snap it back. The branches have to relate to the area that they're within. So this branch has to tie in visually with this. You don't want to make this too dark. And then lead your eye up here under the bird's foot. So can you pass this color through visually? Can you take a little bit of this color and swish that on this branch? Do you see how your eye just moved around the corner just by tickling that color on around the corner? Okay, now where the crotch is where I would put the darkest dark. Remember when we did the tree on the side panel on our
Yes.
So where the crotch is here, I want to make that just a little bit darker. And I use a broken stroke. You can see how I'm coaxing the color along. Just visually lead your eye into that basket.
Mm-hmm.
And you can add as many or as few branches as you like. I like to leave some of them kind of wild and crazy outside of the